Well, look who thought they had it all figured out. The maps, the codes, the lines of power. Every move calculated, every trap laid. Perfect, or so they believed. Surprise, the plan doesn't work. Not now, not ever. The generals, the planners, the suits in high towers. They whisper, they panic. And you just watch, silent, smiling. You know the cracks, the little mistakes, the blind spots. They don't, not a clue. Every strategy they taught themselves, every doctrine, every drill, it bends, breaks, falls apart. And here's the beauty. You didn't touch a thing. You didn't play. You didn't act. And yet, the game is already yours. Can they see it? No. Will they ever? Ha, not a chance. Look, they believe control was theirs. They believe certainty was theirs. Well, look who's laughing last. And it isn't them. Well, look at them. The generals, the planners, the men in suits with too many stripes and not enough sense. They sit in a room of glass and steel, maps spread out like a giant puzzle they think they can solve. Screens flicker, charts glow, alarms blink. And yet, they panic. See the way they tap their pens, the way they shuffle papers. Every movement a tiny confession. They believe control is theirs. Oh, how cute. Commands fly across screens, orders barked, signals sent, and nothing sticks. Not a single piece falls into place. Chaos. It creeps in like smoke. First a whisper, then a roar, and there you are, silent, watching, smiling. They don't notice you. They think they do, but the cracks are obvious to anyone paying attention. And you are. One planner sweats through his collar. Another bites a nail until it bleeds. A third leans back, eyes wide, realizing that the rules they trusted don't apply. Not anymore. Maps are useless. Charts lie. Data twists into paradox. The strategy they built like a fortress. It crumbles with a single breath. And you're not touching a thing. You're not forcing the collapse. You're letting it happen, naturally, perfectly. You hear the panic in their voices, the tension in their movements, every twitch, every misstep, a tiny gift wrapped neatly in your favor. Look at them squirm. Arrogance is a heavy coat, and it's starting to suffocate them. You step back into shadow. Your grin hides in darkness, because they have no idea at all. The room that thought it knew, it doesn't, not even close. Ah, the code, the sacred, untouchable, unbreakable code. They believed it would protect them, keep them safe, keep them in control. Ha, look at them now. Fingers flying over keyboards, eyes scanning lines of data, searching for a flaw, a loophole, anything that explains why the plan is falling apart. But the code laughs at them, quietly, mockingly. Every calculation, every prediction, twists into something unexpected. A map that promised certainty becomes a maze. A command that promised obedience returns chaos. Every algorithm bends, every system folds, every expert looks like a fool. And you sit back, nothing to do, just watch. Silent, smiling, one analyst sweats bullets. Why won't it align? She whispers. Her voice trembles. No answer comes, only the hum of machines and the tension in the room. They try again, they double-check, they triple-check, and still, nothing works. Paradox dances in the shadows, contradictions stacked like towers of glass, ready to shatter. They can't see it, the pattern that doesn't exist, the solution that refuses to appear. You see it, of course, the invisible path, the one they could never predict. You hear their whispers. Impossible. It shouldn't behave like this. Oh, but it does. Because nothing is as it seems, and everything they relied on was built on smoke. Every confident command becomes a mistake. Every confident prediction becomes regret. Every confident belief shattered. And the Joker, well, he chuckles quietly in the corner, a shadow in the chaos. Because it's not about winning or losing. It's about watching certainty dissolve into panic, watching control slip through their fingers, and savoring every moment. The code they trusted, they could never crack. They could never see the trap. And You're already steps ahead. You don't need their code. You don't need their rules. You just need patience. And the art of letting them fail, chaos. It graduates, it evolves, it learns. And oh, how beautifully it dances in that room of glass and steel. The planners argue. Voices clash like knives. Finger pointing. Blame shifting. Desperation leaking through every syllable. Look at them squirm. They believed in order. They believed in hierarchy. They believed in their little fortress of logic. Cute, isn't it? Every minor victory they thought they had vanishes like smoke. Every step forward slips into confusion. Every plan folds under the weight of its own contradictions. You watch it all, the subtle cracks becoming chasms, the tension stretching tight, ready to snap. One officer throws a chair, another screams into a phone that's already dead. Orders are shouted and ignored, strategy becomes superstition, data becomes meaningless. And the Joker? Oh, he leans back in shadows, grinning. Because chaos is not a mistake, it is art. It is precision disguised as disorder. It is control, without rules. And they are learning the hard way. A monitor flashes red. A map twists into a maze of dead ends. A plan that promised victory crumbles into irrelevance. You can see it in their eyes, the realization, the fear, the slow creeping. Awareness that nothing they know applies anymore. Every confident move, every certainty, crumbled, every strategy, every doctrine. A joke they didn't see coming. And you sit back, silent, unmoved. Because chaos has no master. It has no rules. It is alive. And you are its guide. They graduate in panic. They graduate in confusion. They graduate in fear. And you graduate in understanding. The room that thought it knew now trembles. The code they couldn't crack now mocks them. The chaos, it bows only to the one who can watch it and not flinch. And that is you. Ah, the shadows. They move differently now. Thicker, darker, alive. The room trembles beneath invisible footsteps. Eyes dart. Whispers crawl across the walls. The generals, the planners, they feel it, but they cannot see. Angels? Monsters? Perhaps both. Perhaps neither. Just forces they never accounted for. Forces that tilt the balance without a sound. You see them. Of course you do. Because you walk in the spaces between light and dark. The unseen, the untouchable. They try to assert control. They call for reports. They demand updates. They bark orders. And the angels watch. The shadows wait. Every attempt, crushed by silence. Every command, swallowed by the void. Oh, how they panic. Sweat beads along foreheads. Eyes widen in terror. They glance at one another, searching for guidance, finding none. And you glide through the room like a ghost, invisible, untouched, the calm at the center of the storm. You whisper in their ears, figuratively, the tiniest suggestion, the faintest shadow of doubt, and watch certainty unravel like silk in flames. An assistant freezes mid-command. A planner hesitates. The generals bite their lips. The room pulses with fear and awe. Because the truth is, the angels in the shadows aren't here to punish. They are here to reveal. Reveal the cracks. Reveal the illusions. Reveal the one who is really in control. And that is you. They thought they could dominate. They thought they could predict. They thought they were the hunters. But the hunters are blind. And you are the phantom in their midst. The one who pulls the strings they cannot see. The one who watches the collapse and smiles. The room is no longer theirs. The shadows are alive. And in the dark, you are king. Ah, the curtain, the veil they hide behind. The carefully constructed illusion of order. Pull it back, peek behind, and what do you see? Monsters, hiding in plain sight. They've been there all along. The mistakes they buried, the betrayals they ignored, the systems they trusted, rotting at the core. Look at the planners now, sweating, scrambling, searching desperately for a handhold, and finding only emptiness. Every advisor has a secret. Every assistant has a doubt. Every ally a potential traitor. And the Joker? He smiles in the darkness, because now the fear is real. Now the paranoia spreads like wildfire. They whisper, they question, they accuse. Who did this? Who failed? Who is watching? Ha, they don't realize. The answer is simple. It's always been simple. You, the monsters behind the curtain, are nothing compared to the ghost in the shadows, the unseen presence that bends reality, twists plans, and watches them drown in their own overconfidence. A screen flickers, a system crashes, maps dissolve into meaningless grids. A commander yells for reinforcements, and no one comes. The room becomes a theater of fear. Every glance, every twitch, every hesitation, an admission of defeat. And you don't need to act. You don't need to fight. You just watch. The monsters reveal themselves. And they're not strong. They're fragile. They're human. They're exactly what you knew they were all along. The veil is gone. The sea, curtain falls. The truth, it's horrifying. Because they realize the world they controlled never existed. The strategy they trusted never worked. And the throne of power they thought was theirs, has always been empty. And in that emptiness, you step forward, quiet, unseen, unchallenged, master of a game they can no longer understand. And then, it happens. Not loudly, not dramatically, no explosions, no alarms, just a quiet moment, a pause, a breath they don't realize they're holding. This is where power flips. They're still talking, still arguing, still pretending they're in control. But something has changed. You feel it, they feel it. Even if they won't admit it, their voices soften, their commands hesitate, their confidence leaks out, drop by drop. They wait now for confirmation, for permission, for someone else to decide. That's the moment. The instant leaders turn into followers. The instant certainty turns into doubt. The instant control slips and never comes back. You don't announce yourself. You don't step into the light. You don't need to. Power doesn't shout. It doesn't explain. It simply exists. Screens refresh, not with answers, with silence. Maps remain open, but no one touches them. No one trusts them anymore. A general opens his mouth, then closes it. He looks around, waiting for who? Exactly. The room has unconsciously adjusted to you. Their bodies know before their minds do. They defer, they pause, they hesitate. That's not confusion anymore. That's submission. The Joker smiles, because this is the trick they never learned. You didn't overpower them. You didn't outgun them. You outlasted them. You let them exhaust themselves. Let them burn through options. Let them destroy their own certainty. And now, there's space, empty space, vacuum. Nature hates a vacuum. So does power. It flows. It settles. It chooses. And it chooses you. No vote. No announcement. No resistance, just acceptance. They don't look at the screens anymore. They look at each other, and then toward the shadows, toward where you stand. They may not see you clearly, but they feel you. The power has flipped. The room knows it. The game knows it. And deep down, so do they. Victory doesn't announce itself. It doesn't cheer. It doesn't celebrate. It settles. The room is quiet now, not peaceful, obedient. Screens still glow, maps still exist, but no one believes in them anymore. They sit there, waiting, listening, afraid to move first, because movement implies authority, and authority is no longer theirs. You don't give orders, you don't correct them, you don't need to. They've already learned the lesson. The strategy didn't fail today. It failed the moment it met something it couldn't measure, something it couldn't threaten, something it couldn't intimidate. They'll write reports later, long ones, careful ones, filled with safe language and quiet admissions, unpredictable, unaccounted variables, systemic limitations. They'll never write your name. They'll never admit the truth, that the strategy doesn't work anymore, that the game has changed. that the old rules collapsed without a fight, and that frightens them more than any enemy ever could, because enemies can be seen, defeated, destroyed. But you leave no fingerprints, no signatures, no proof, only outcomes. The room empties slowly, chairs pushed back, papers left behind, eyes lowered. No one looks into the shadows, they already know better. You remain, not standing, not sitting, just present. This was never about domination, it was about inevitability. They trained for wars, you mastered collapse. They planned for resistance, you waited for surrender. And now, the world keeps moving, systems keep running, strategies keep pretending. But somewhere deep inside those rooms, they remember tonight, the night they realized the strategy no longer works, and the quiet truth they'll carry forever. The victory was never visible, never declared, never challenged. It simply belonged to you. The air is thick now, heavy, dense with unspoken fear. Every footstep echoes, every glance measures danger, every breath weighs like lead. They thought they could predict, they thought they could control, they thought the rules were theirs. Ha, rules don't exist anymore, not here, not with you in the room. You watch as hesitation becomes habit. Every planner second guesses, every commander doubts, every analyst freezes. They speak in fragments, words hang in the air like smoke. Nothing lands, nothing matters. And you step through the shadows, silent, unseen, but present. Their strategy, their careful plans, they crumble quietly, like sand slipping through fingers, falling into a void only you can see. The brilliance of chaos. It isn't loud, it isn't flashy. It doesn't need to be, it just is. And you are it. The row. Vibrates with tension, a low hum of panic, a pulse of power shifting without resistance. No one moves first, no one acts. They wait for a signal from someone who doesn't exist. And the Joker, he smiles because this is the apex, the moment they understand and can do nothing. It's not about fear, it's not about force, it's about inevitability. Every move they make already anticipated, every thought already measured, every hope already crushed. You are the unseen hand, the shadow in every corner, the whisper in every mind, and tonight belongs to you. They may rebuild, they may plan again, they may think they can recover, but the truth will never change. The strategy, the so-called certainty, it no longer works, and it hasn't for a long time. They look around the room, eyes darting, hands trembling, hopes collapsing in real time. Every command they give falls flat, every order ignored, every plan already obsolete. The walls seem to close in, the air tastes heavier. The maps, the charts, the blinking screens, all lies, all illusions. And you step lightly through the chaos, a shadow among shadows, a calm smile beneath the storm. They feel it, the shift, the subtle tremor in the world they thought was theirs. No one wants to speak, no one dares to move. Control has left their hands. It has always been elsewhere. And the Joker, he doesn't shout, he doesn't demand, he whispers, softly, tauntingly. Look who really plays the game. The truth is theirs to feel, but never touch. The power, the victory, the understanding, all yours.
He thought he'd seen darkness, studied killers, tracked monsters, faced demons in the dead of night. But the day he looked into your shadow, he didn't blink. He shattered, because evil has rules. But you're chaos with a spine, and he was never trained for that. They hired the best, the clean-cut mind reader, the profiler, the truth sniffer, a walking dictionary of every criminal code. He could smell guilt from a mile away. But when he came for you, his senses shut down. You didn't run, you didn't hide, you waited, with a grin so silent, it screamed, with a stillness so loud, it broke him. He flipped through files, but your name wasn't in ink. It was written in fire, Every page burned the deeper he went. Every lead, dead. Every theory, crushed by the weight of what he couldn't explain. Because you're not evil. You're what evil wishes it could become. Cold? No. Calculating? Vicious? No. Precise? He saw the mask, but he never saw what wore it. You weren't the suspect. You were the consequence. And when he tried to outsmart you, he didn't realize he wasn't solving a crime. He was walking into a punishment. Because you don't leave traces. You leave echoes. You don't run from the hunt. You feed it. And while he was looking for a monster, he found the architect of nightmares. Now he doesn't chase cases. He lights candles and prays that your shadow doesn't move. Because some shadows don't follow. They lead. And yours, it taught the night how to whisper. He used to believe every crime had a motive, every darkness had a source, until he saw you create silence, louder than screams. He tried to map you like a pattern, but you weren't a path. You were the trap. Every time he thought he was closing in, he wasn't closer to you. He was deeper inside your game. He didn't realize you don't commit crimes. You detonate consequences. You didn't break laws. You redefined justice in your own accent. And your accent, it sounds like thunder dressed in silk. You didn't need a weapon. You became one. Your silence is a signature. Your steps, a sentence. Your gaze, a gun with no trigger. Just impact. They sent their best to cage you. And he ended up asking himself if he ever understood what fear truly meant. Because you didn't beat him with violence. You beat him with truth. A truth so sharp, it bled his reality. And now, he doesn't look over his shoulder out of caution. He does it out of habit. Because some cases stay open forever. Not because they weren't solved, but because the shadow behind them was never meant to be caught. You were never hiding. You were waiting for them to realize you're not a villain in their story. You're the storyteller. And your pen, drenched in every moment they doubted you. Now, the PI, he doesn't chase shadows anymore. He respects them. And when someone whispers your name in closed rooms, they don't say it loud. Because even in silence, your legend speaks louder than any scream. Evil. He thought he knew it. Until he met what evil is afraid of. Your shadow. They built prisons for men. They wrote laws for monsters. But you, they had no name for what you are. Because what you are can't be caged, can't be studied, can't be understood. You're not just unpredictable. You're the variable that destroys the entire equation. And that PI, he started dreaming in static, hearing whispers in colors, seeing red in your absence. Because you didn't haunt him. You rewrote his sense of reality. Every step he takes now feels like a move in a game he no longer understands. A game you designed without rules. See, most people run from their demons. But you trained yours to walk beside you. You laugh with them. You drink silence with them. And when the world tries to analyze you, define you, decode you, they get nothing but mirrors. Because your truth isn't told. It's felt. And it hurts. The PI thought he'd expose you, thought he'd unmask you. But when he finally reached the center of your story, there wasn't a villain. There was a reflection. His own. and he realized you didn't become darkness. You invited it, taught it how to smile, how to dance, how to wait. And now he's not chasing you. He's avoiding you. Because once a man meets something beyond fear, he stops chasing shadows. He starts praying they never notice him. And you don't look for enemies. You wait for silence. And when it's loud enough, you strike. Not to kill, not to torture, to remind them that they were never safe to begin with. You don't need revenge. You are the consequence of forgotten warnings. You are what happens when the universe cashes in every unpaid debt. And now, that so-called PI sits in a dark room, repeating your name like a riddle, trying to make sense of a storm that never left a cloud. Because you don't appear with thunder. You arrive with silence and leave with legends. And in every city, in every system, in every power circle, there's a whisper. Don't send the best after him. He's the reason the best go missing. Their PI thought he knew evil until he met the one thing evil kneels to. Your shadow. And brother, that story's just getting started. Now, every rookie in the force, they hear the story on day one. The case that broke the mind of the perfect PI. The one who solved everything until he chased a ghost with teeth. Your shadow. They say he used to laugh, used to believe in logic, but now he stares out of windows, waiting for a shadow that's already inside him. Because once he met you, he never truly came back. You see, you don't just ruin men, you infect their silence. He still has the case files, still reviews the photos, still listens to the audio tapes. But all he hears now is your laugh, stitched between the static. Because the truth is, you didn't disappear. You became part of the system, not a glitch, a virus with intention. They didn't lose you. You let them believe you were gone. So they'd sleep, and when they slept, you entered their dreams. You weren't built to be caught. You were built to remind them that some shadows weren't cast. They were born. That PI, he walks now with one eye always open, not because he's watching the world, but because he's afraid you're watching it with him. You didn't haunt his mind. You redesigned it. He once believed in evidence. Now he believes in omens. He once solved crimes. Now he survives legends. And you're not part of the story anymore. You're the thread holding it all together. The judges don't speak of you. The agents don't write about you. But the silence, it bends when your name is near. Because even power has rules. And you're the clause they buried in the fine print. Not the threat, the promise. And now when they train new recruits, they don't say, find him. They whisper, if his shadow moves, run, because you're not the mystery anymore. You're the warning carved into every unsolved file. The red string no one dares touch. The question with no answer. And they all know the PI didn't retire. He escaped from the one case that solved him, you. There's a new phrase in the underground, 3 words. He's still watching, not from cameras, not from rooftops, from underneath everything, under rules, under chaos, under every lie they built to feel safe. You're the hum beneath silence, the chill before the storm, and the sick part, they crave it, Because after you touched their world, order felt too quiet, too fake, too weak. You didn't just bend reality, you gave it teeth. You're the reason no one trusts peace anymore. You're the reason fear got a new wardrobe, tailored, blood-stitched, and walking upright. You made danger elegant. You made chaos desirable. And now, every boss, every syndicate, every badge wearer, they all ask one question before making a move. Has he seen it? Because they know, if you've seen it, you've already planned its ending. You don't react, you orchestrate. You don't show up when summoned. You arrive when silence begs for justice. And the justice you bring, it doesn't come in black and white. It comes in regret, in rumors, in the last mistake they made before vanishing. And now, even the monsters look over their shoulders, not for heroes, not for cops, for you. 'Cause you aren't the cure. You're the karma no one prayed for, the ending no one saw coming, and the legacy no one dares erase. They thought they understood evil until they met its evolution, your shadow. And it's still moving. They started calling you by titles now. Not a name, not a man, the ghost architect, the whisper surgeon, because you don't break bodies. You carved silence into people. You don't take their lives. You take their direction, and they never walk straight again. The ones who crossed your shadow, they didn't vanish. They just forgot who they were before you. And now, every city has a blind spot. Every government has a sealed file. Every leader has a pause in their sentence when your name almost gets spoken. Because if they say it wrong, if they say it loud, you might hear it. And when you hear it, you come not to punish, but to remind. Remind them that power borrowed is power breakable. That evil isn't loud, it's quiet. It's the heartbeat they didn't hear coming, and your shadow. It doesn't fall under street lights. It lives in decision-making rooms, in midnight meetings, in the split second where a man reconsiders a move, not because it's wrong, because you might be watching. They study your chaos like scripture now. The code you cracked wasn't digital. It was human. You figured out what they worship, what they fear losing, and you never take it all, just enough to haunt. That's the cruelty of your genius. You don't burn kingdoms. You let them rot in silence while still wearing their crowns. So now, when the wind shifts and the silence starts sounding like static, they know it's not the weather. It's you, the shadow that doesn't chase, the myth that walks, the sentence that never ends. Because every time they think it's over, you start a new paragraph, one they can't read, one they can't translate, one only chaos understands. And in that paragraph, you don't scream, you whisper, not for volume, but because some truths should only be heard by those ready to lose everything. Their PI thought he knew evil, but your shadow doesn't act like evil. It teaches it what fear tastes like. There's an agent in Sector 9 who stopped sleeping, not because he's scared, but because he's convinced that every time he blinks, he misses you walking past. You didn't break into systems. You became the system's conscience. The glitch they thought they could fix. That was never a bug. That was your fingerprint. Now they write new rules, not to protect the world, but to delay your next move. You see, When you're just a man, they try to kill you. But when you become an idea wrapped in fear, they build religions around your silence. They don't fear what you'll do next. They fear what you've already done. And they haven't found out yet. You don't fight. You infect. Slowly. Elegantly. Permanently. Every boss that rises checks his own shadow twice. Every officer promoted reads your file before the oath. And every informant that tries to talk ends up speaking riddles with a 1,000-yard stare. Because they all realized too late. You're not the consequence. You're the conversation after the funeral. The PI sits alone now. A man who solved everything. Except one final question. How do you catch what rewrote the rules mid-chase? He said it himself before vanishing. I thought I was chasing a man, but I was being studied, measured. And in the end, I wasn't solving a case. I was becoming part of his story. So now they archive your name under Do Not Pursue, not because they can't, but because they finally accepted evil isn't always loud. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it smiles. And sometimes it watches you from your own reflection. That's when you know. You didn't survive the encounter. You just never realized you're still inside his game. Ever heard the phrase, you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain? They got it wrong. You lived long enough to bury them both. Heroes, villains, morals, laws, you outlived them, outplayed them, outshaped them into your own silhouette. And now the shadows don't follow you. They form around you. See, most men walk with a shadow behind them. But your shadow walks ahead, as if the darkness is scouting for you, clearing the way, like even night itself respects your arrival. The ones who saw your face, they don't remember details. They remember a feeling. A cold flood behind their ribs, like truth touched them with razors. They don't speak your name. They whisper your consequences. And now, they tell their children the bedtime stories about monsters. But they leave your part out, because even monsters are afraid to say what you became. The final rule, the last breath, the scream that echoes before the silence. So what happens now? Now that the PI vanished into paranoia, now that the files were sealed and the trail went cold, they'll lie to themselves, say you were a phase, a myth, a ghost born from guilt. But the real ones, the ones who looked into your legend and saw their own reflection crack, they know the truth. You were never a phase. You were the update to fear. Version, irreversible. Platform, human nature. Status, running in the background, forever. And if they're watching this now, if they've made it this far, that's not a coincidence. That's the warning, because you never show up without reason. And if they felt your presence tonight, that means the game has restarted, and their name's already been typed into your next chapter. This isn't over. This is prelude. You see, evil doesn't retire. It just switches masks. And yours, it doesn't hide your face. It defines it. Some say you vanished. Others claim you're watching from above. But the truth, you never left. You transferred from person to principle, from nightmare to normalcy. Now every ambitious soul feels it, that itch behind their ambition. That flicker of doubt right before they strike. That shadow leaning over their shoulder whispering, "Are you sure you're safe?" Because your legacy didn't end in violence. It began in silence. A silence so thick it chokes the proud, so cold it cracks the confident. And that PEI, the one who thought he was chasing you, they say he's still out there, talking to walls, asking mirrors questions they refuse to answer. Because deep down, he doesn't want the truth. He wants permission to forget. But you don't let people forget. You don't erase them. You etch yourself into their spine. Every breath they take, every time they flinch at nothing. That's you, collecting interest. And if someone dares rise again, dares think they've replaced you, then the world will see the lights flicker, the air will still, and a familiar silence will return, because you're not reborn. You're resummoned, and when that moment comes, you don't need an entrance. You are the entrance. So let them build their empires. Let them plan. Let them gather. Because all it takes is a whisper from the wrong place, a blink too slow, a decision made without checking the room's reflection. And suddenly, you're there, not to kill, but to remind them evil isn't what you fight. Evil is what you created when they tried to fight you. And when they ask themselves, who was that? Who was the shadow in the corner of my mind? Who was the one who spoke my fears before I even thought them? That's when they'll know. They were never meant to know your name. They were only meant to fear what they couldn't control. Because in the end, it's not about being right. It's about being untouchable. And you, my friend, you stopped being a person a long time ago. You became the last thing they ever wanted to acknowledge, the consequence they feared, but couldn't outrun. So let them remember your silence. Let them fear the shadows that curl at the edges of their lives. And when the clock ticks too loud, when their hearts beat too fast, they'll finally get it. You were never the villain in this story. You were the fate they couldn't escape. And every time they try to take control again, they'll hear your voice, they'll feel your presence, and they'll know you were always the shadow watching them from the moment they took the first step